Hello and welcome back. This is Jennifer McGuire. Over the past few weeks, I've been kind of cleaning up and purging my craft room, making room for new things for the new year. When doing so, I kind of put together a box of things that I've been wanting to use but haven't had a chance to use yet, so I thought I would use them in a video today. Now, today's focus is on masking stencils. These are stencils that allow you to mask an area to do fun techniques. In this video, I'm going to show you a bunch of different ways to use them. The best part about these techniques is you can use them with a variety of stamps and dies that you likely already have. For the masking, you either can create your own stencils or you can use masking stencils. I'll be using Tailored Expressions masking stencils today. These were on my favorites list last year, and I'm excited to show you many ways to use these. My friend Lori Willison was the creator of these, and they're only available on the Tailored Expressions online site and in local stores. Now, what's really creative about these and why I'm so excited to share them with you is they were the first masking stencil to have a guide on it, so you can easily line them up on your projects and center things. This is such a huge advantage. So here's an example set. You get the stencils and the little masks that fit inside of the stencils. Now, when you look closely on the stencils themselves, there are two kind of engraved lines. They're two large rectangles. The outside rectangle is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. The inside is 4 by 5 1/4. So you can easily center up your card panel behind it so you can be sure everything is centered. Now, before I dive into the masking techniques that you can do with these stencils, I wanted to mention another way you can use these as a tool in your craft room. So say you have a small embellishment or stamped image, such as this die cut, that you want to glue towards the top center of your card. And you want to make sure it's perfectly centered. Instead of measuring things out, you can use one of these stencils as a guide. So you just line up your card with the engraved lines on the stencil. And then you have that little window that you can center your die cut in. It's easier to center in a smaller area like that. So you can glue it in that open area, then remove the stencil, and you can be sure that it's centered much better than eyeballing it or measuring it with a T-ruler. Here's another example. You could use the rectangle masking stencil, line up your card with the engraved lines, and then you have a smaller rectangle to center your piece in. Much easier in that smaller area. So it's kind of hard to see here, but I'm centering my little stamped image here in that window. Then I can remove the stencil and I can be sure that my stamped image is centered on the card. So I actually keep these stencils hanging on a little hook in my craft room cupboard so that I can grab them quickly to help me with centering things. So I just wanted to show you the other use for these. I think it's helpful when you see the many ways a tool can be used. And the nice thing about stencils is they have a lower price point than other tools that we use for crafting. So that's another advantage too. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into some techniques that you can do with this. I have several cards for you today. In my first example, I'm going to do some basic blending over a stencil and a mask. So I'm going to use two together, and then we'll use an embossing folder. It's actually pretty quick to pull together. For that white heart in the center, I need to use the heart mask from the masking stencil heart set. So what I'm using is Thermoweb Pixie spray, and I'm spraying a little bit of this on the back of the heart mask. I'm going to let that dry for a few minutes, and then it'll be ready to temporarily stick onto my project to use as a mask. I also have the rectangle stencil, and I'm taping a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of white cardstock to the back of that stencil using those guidelines to make sure it's centered. So there you can see the rectangle on the front. Now I want to place the heart, and I want to be sure it's centered, so I'm lining up the heart stencil. Then I'm putting the heart mask inside of the opening on the stencil. Then I remove the stencil, and there we have our masked off area. So the heart is masked, and then we have the negative space stencil around it of a rectangle. I'm using my Pink and Main Ergonomic blending brush and Gina K Designs dye ink. This is bubblegum. And I'm applying a light amount of pink ink towards the top part of our background. Notice the heart is staying in position there. It's masking off that white cardstock. And because I have that Pixie spray on it, it's holding in place. Okay, so after I put some pink on here, I'm going to go ahead and towards the middle apply a little bit of a darker pink. So this will be Passionate Pink Gina K Design ink. And then towards the bottom, I will come in with Plum Punch. So I'm blending from a pink down to a purple. You could use any inks here and any ink blending tool. I'm using this Ergonomic blending brush because it's really easy to blend out large backgrounds like this, and I find it blends perfectly. So I just tap the excess ink off on my glass surface, then I bring the brush to the paper and I blend it in. Once I'm done, I can wipe away all the excess ink from the stencils. I don't want to transfer it by accident. I remove the stencil and then I can carefully remove the mask. If there is any kind of residue left over from the Pixie spray, you can use an adhesive eraser to remove that and have a nice clean surface. I thought it'd be fun to use an embossing folder on this, so I'm using the Memory Box Heart Bouquet 3D embossing folder, which was also on my favorites list. I just put my paper inside of the folder, and then I'm running it through my Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cut machine. You'll have to play around with your die cut machine to figure out what sandwich works with this particular embossing folder because it's really thick. And there you can see the beautiful embossing that we have along with the ink blending. Next, I have a piece of white craft foam that's slightly smaller than our inked panel. I'm putting Gina K Connect liquid adhesive on it. You don't need much. And I'll glue that to the back of the inked panel. And then I will glue all of this onto a top folding 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch pink note card. This is Gina K Bubblegum Pink cardstock. I finished off the card by adding a simple heart die cut to the center, a pink one, and then added a sentiment strip. You can see how easy it was to use masking to create that blended color in the background, and then added texture with an embossing folder. If you don't have the masking stencils in the rectangle and the heart shape, you could always use die cuts and masking paper. But the stencils are handy because you can use them over and over again and they have those guidelines. And by the way, the sentiment strip is from the Simon Says Stamp Reverse Love Sentiment Strip Pack. These sentiment strips are pre-printed. All you have to do is cut them out and add them onto your card. It's a big time saver. Okay, my next example shows how you can use one of the masking stencils just to add a bit of ink in a background. So I didn't actually fill in the whole opening. I just did a soft amount of color as a highlight. So I'm using the circle masking stencil, the larger one, and I have a piece of 4 by 5 1/4 inch white cardstock that I'm lining up with the guidelines. Over the opening, I'm using my Ergonomic brush from Pink and Main to apply a soft amount of Gina K Seaglass ink. Notice that I'm keeping the ink towards the bottom of the circle and then just letting it blend out to white on the top. I thought it'd be fun to do a partial amount of inking so that it would just create a little bit of highlight, but not a solid circle. Over this, I decided to stamp the Honeybee Woodgrain background stamp. Now I'm stamping this with a very soft ink. This is Gina K Designs Whisper Amalgam ink. It's like a soft champagne gray color. So I'm going to stamp this a few times because I want it to show up a little bit more. And there you can see that little bit of interest that adds over our inking. I'm really excited to use this Altenew die set to create this fun plant that I'll put in a little pot here. It is actually a 3D layering set, so there are pieces that you glue together to give the look of dimension. So I die cut them from 2 shades of green cardstock and assembled them along with a little pot. Now this little pot is from a palm die set that I'll show you later on in this video. But I cut it from craft cardstock and I'm going to sandwich the stems of our plant in between 2 of the little pots so I can be sure that they don't move around. And I actually put a little bit of a gold cardstock strip on the front pot so that it would just have a nice finishing touch. So there I'm going to glue that right onto our card, and all we need to do is add a sentiment then. So I added all of that onto a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch top folding craft note card. Have a sentiment stamped in black. You can see that wood grain in the background when I tilt it in the light. I like how that ink kind of reacts with that blue ink, and you'll see it almost looks like a resist even though I had stamped it on top. I also use my Stardust glitter pen to add some little detail lines onto the leaves and add a little bit of shimmer. This card is actually going to my dad. He loves potted plants like this, and I thought the colors and the look of it would be perfect for him. Now for this sentiment, which I think is a really nice one, it's from the Pinkfresh Studio Leafy Decor stamp set. This stamp set I use a few times in this video, and it has a lot of nice, simple, unique sentiments that are perfect for adding onto a card. Okay, my next idea for using masking stencils is to double it up and use 2 on 1 card, so you can see how I have these concentric ovals. I also thought it'd be fun to show you how to do this over a textured background. So I have this background die cut from Altenew, this Ornate Cover Die, that I cut from white cardstock. The overall size of this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I also have a piece of white cardstock of the same size. This is Brutus Monroe Not Your Mama's cardstock that I'm using today. This is a very heavyweight white cardstock that takes ink blending very well, but you can try whatever cardstock you may have. I lined up this white cardstock with the outer etched line on the back of this larger oval masking stencil. And I again am going to use my Ergonomic blending brush and Gina K Designs Seaglass ink to apply a nice soft bit of color over this opening. You could use any inks and any inking tool for this. I'm trying to keep this bigger oval area a bit softer, and I'll do the smaller oval area a little bit darker. Okay, so now I'm going to remove that mask, and I'm going to do the same masking and inking over the die cut. So I'm going to line this up with the etched lines on the stencil, tape it in place, and then use the same ink and inking tool. Now I could have glued the die cut onto the background and inked them both at once. But sometimes when you ink over a textured background, it picks up heavier amount of ink towards the edges. So you get a little more definition on your die cut, which is totally fine. But in this case, I wanted it to be a little more subtle. So I found inking them separately and then gluing them together would give better results, but it's totally up to you. Okay, now I'm coming in with the smaller oval stencil. I'm going to line up with the guidelines once again. And this time I'll apply a heavier amount of that same color ink. So I'm going to be a little more heavy-handed here. Regardless of what inking tool you use, I recommend dabbing some of the excess ink off and then bringing it to your paper so that you don't end up with any harsh lines on your paper itself. Okay, so now you can see how I have those 2 ovals, one's bigger and lighter. Now I'm going to take that smaller stencil and do the same thing over my die cut. Again, applying a heavier amount of ink over this opening. And now when I put the background and the die cut together, they just blend beautifully, so I just have subtle texture. On the back of our die cut, I'm using spray adhesive. I just thought it'd be fastest with this Ornate die cut, so I'm using the E6000 adhesive, and I'm placing that right on top of our background, and there you can see our double masking that we did. You could have skipped using the die cut, but I thought it added some fun texture. Now for the flowers on this card, I used this fun Pinkfresh Studio stamp set. This is one that I've been really excited to use. I think the images on here are so playful and unique and different than anything I have. And there are some really large flowers that fill a card nicely, but also some small ones. So you can really get a lot of different looks from this. So I'm stamping a few more flowers and stems and leaves than I need. That way I'll have them left over for future cards. I might as well do a lot of stamping at once since I have my stamping tool. And here you can see there are simple layering images for this set. Such a fun, playful look. I then finished these off by using the coordinating dies to cut them out. For a sentiment, I use this Pinkfresh Studio Phrase Builder die set. This is the You die set. So you can do You Are Kind, Wonderful, Awesome, Amazing. And for this one, I'm just going to use the word kind and its shadow. So I'm just going to arrange all of these pieces on the front of my card. I'm using liquid adhesive to add them onto that textured background. Notice that I'm using the shadow of the word kind. I cut that from white cardstock. And then I will use black cardstock for the word kind itself. And I have these stems and leaves sandwiched between the shadow and the word itself. I think that's a fun way to add some more dimension to this by layering those all together. So once I had everything glued down, I went ahead and added a few gemstones to these. These are Lucy's Cards Raspberry Gemstones. And you can see I added them to the flowers for some shine. Here you can see that double oval in the background and how it just creates kind of a focal point on the card, and how using that die cut on the background adds a lot of interest and texture. And by the way, the words "you are" from the sentiment "you are amazing" from this Altenew Hello and Hugs stamp set. This is one that I've used in videos before, and I just used the words "you are" so I could create a new sentiment. Okay, my next example shows yet another way to use the masking stencils. This time I used the hexagon, and for this I decided to ink it up several times, shifting each time to create a fun background. So I have a piece of Brutus Monroe Not Your Mama's cardstock. Again, that's just a very heavyweight, high quality cardstock. I have it cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I lined it up with the guidelines on the stencil, and now I'm applying Turquoise Sea ink from Gina, and I'm putting down a medium amount of coverage. Once I've inked that up, I just wipe everything clean, and then I'm going to rotate my stencil around. So I'm just going to rotate it and line it back up again. And I'm going to ink it up with the same ink. So it's going to be the exact same thing, but it'll be overlapping in the middle. And by the way, I think this technique would be fun with the circle stencil also, or even the heart. Okay, so now I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to shift it so that the opening is at the center of the card. I'm just eyeballing it here, but using those guidelines to make sure it's straight. Here I'm applying a heavier ink. So this is Tranquil Teal from Gina, and I applied a heavy amount towards that center opening. And then we're going to shift the stencil to the right and to the left to apply a lighter amount of ink. Still using the side guidelines on the stencil to make sure it's all straight. This time I applied Seaglass ink. So think about it. You could create your own mask using a die cut and just move it around to create a pattern like this. But here you can see how easy it is to move and how nicely it holds up because it is a stencil. Now that we have our background done, it's time to create our accents to go on it. I decided to use the Altenew Palm die set. I'm really excited about this one, and I use it again later in this video. It does come with a pot die too, which I can't find on my desk. But I went ahead and die cut the palms from Pearlescent Vellum from Fawn, and I'm gluing those right at the center. Over that, I have a wonderful die cut, and that's from that Pinkfresh Studio die set that I showed you earlier. I'm just taping it in place temporarily so that I can know where to white heat emboss a sentiment above it. So I'm white heat embossing the message, "You are always so," and then I'll go ahead and heat set that. So I'll end up with the sentiment, "You are always so wonderful." Now I went ahead and glued down the word wonderful and added a few little pearls also. Now for the wonderful, I used the shadow die to cut from the Pearlescent Vellum. Then I die cut wonderful 3 times from white cardstock, and then once from a sugary, glittery white cardstock, and I glued that on top. So we have nice stacked dimension. And then I glued that onto our card. It's kind of hard to see in the video, the white glitter paper. So this is what it looks like. It's from Tonic, and I love how it's white with glitter that doesn't rub off. And also the white heat emboss sentiment that says "You are always so" is from this sentiment in this Pinkfresh Studio Leafy Decor stamp set. So instead of "You are always so sweet to me," I just used "You are always so" and added it to wonderful. Okay, next I wanted to show you how you can use masking stencils along with regular stencils to create fun looks. This is a great way to get different looks out of stencils you already have. For this one, I'm using both the small and large circles masking stencils and the masks themselves. I have white cardstock that is 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm taping that onto the back of the small circle stencil. In the center, I'm applying some bubblegum ink, once again, just like I did before, and I'm applying a medium amount. Next, I'm coming in with this gorgeous Mandala burst stencil from Gina, and I'm just lining it up with that opening on my stencil. I'll then just tape it in place temporarily and apply some passionate pink ink over this. So we'll have a lighter pink background and darker pink pattern. So you could have a snowflake stencil, any kind of stencil, and by only inking up part of it, you can give it a completely different look. Okay, so once I'm done with that, I'll go ahead and wipe it clean, remove that stencil, and then add on the larger circle stencil. So we'll just use those guidelines once again to make sure it's centered. I have the smaller circle mask here. I did spray some of that Pixie spray on the back of it so it would hold in place, and I'm putting that right over our pink ink so that we can apply Seaglass over this and it won't interfere with the pink. So we're creating a ring of this Seaglass color around the pink. So I'm going in with a lighter amount of color. Actually, this isn't Seaglass, this is Turquoise Sea. Then I'm putting the stencil back in place, the Mandala stencil, just lining up with the pattern with the pink that we've already done. And then over this, I will apply a heavier amount of that same Turquoise Sea ink. So again, we'll end up with a darker pattern and a lighter background. And what's cool is the pattern will stretch across the pink area and that teal area, and we'll have a completely different look for this stencil. Now think about it, you could use this technique with a softer amount of ink as just a backdrop for a stamped image or a die cut on a card. I thought it'd be fun to add some sparkle to this, so I'm lining back up the large circle stencil, lining back up my mandala stencil, and now over that I'm applying some Tonic Moonstone Glimmer paste. This is clear with lots of holographic glitter in it that won't rub off. And I'm using my stencil pal just to drag along that and make sure that I completely cover those openings. Once I'm done, I can put all the excess back into the bottle and quickly clean off my stencil so that doesn't dry, and check out this beautiful pattern that we're left with. I love using different products together to get new looks, and this is a great technique for that. To finish it off, I used a Hello die cut from this Altenew Hello and Hugs die set. The die set includes both words and both shadows, and I used this in my last video too. I die cut that twice from black cardstock and glued it together and then added it onto our inked area here. I also added some iridescent gemstones from Lucy's cards to the pattern too. I put all of that onto a Turquoise Sea note card that I created that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And there you can see that fun pattern that we got by using masking stencils and stencils together, along with ink and glimmer paste. Okay, my last card is probably my favorite of the bunch. I made this for one of my guy friends, and it uses one of my favorite techniques, and that is embossed resist, which works great with masking stencils. I'm starting out by white heat embossing the Simon Says stamp You Matter background stamp onto white cardstock. This white cardstock is 4 by 5 1/4, and I've just put it into my MISTI, making sure that it's straight. I use my anti-static powder tool, ink it up with Versamark ink, stamp it, and then add my white embossing powder. So you won't be able to see it, but there is text background that is white on this background. You've seen me use this background stamp many, many times. I tell you, it is great for just about any card. Now, right on top of that white embossing, I'm lining up one of my masking stencils here. Then I'm putting the mask in the center. So I'm just going to use the mask this time, not the stencil itself, but I use the stencil to make sure it's centered. And yes, there is Pixie spray on the back of that mask so that it stays in place as we ink on top. Now over this, I'm applying Seaglass ink from Gina, so it's a soft pool color. And you can see how our white heat embossing is resisting that ink that we put on top. Once I'm done, I can go ahead and remove all the excess ink with a dry cloth. And then I added that to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch white note card. Now I'm using those Altenew palm dies again. I have 3 that I'm adding to my card using liquid adhesive. And then I added a Hello die cut on top from that Altenew Hello and Hugs die cut set that I showed you earlier. Now for the word hello, I use Pink and Main Gold Sparkle cardstock. This is my new favorite sparkle cardstock because it has a little bit of holographic glitter to it also. So it really catches the light and stands out even more, and it doesn't rub off. So I put that onto a white die cut shadow, and then added on top of our palm leaves, and then also added some Studio Cadia gold pearls, just for little accents here and there. So yes, you can combine your masking stencils with whatever favorite techniques you have, such as embossed resist. Okay, there you have a bunch of ways to combine masking with stencils and other products that you may have. If you wanted to see any of these products that I featured today, they are linked below in my YouTube description. I linked them to as many different sources as I could. In the middle here are a couple other related videos that may be helpful to you. And always go to my blog if you want to learn more and see lots more photos. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you stopping by, and we'll see you again very soon.